Hi, I'm Dr. Laura Chamberlain, and I'm with Clean Count Cook County. You can find us on the internet at cleancountcookcounty.org. And today we're going to be talking about being a poll watcher in the election day polling places.
Hi, I'm Claire Tobin with Illinois Ballot Integrity Project and Clean Count Cook County. Volunteering to be a poll watcher for a candidate is an important community service, adding to the observation of our elections and helping your favorite candidate as well. Your favorite candidate should obtain separate credentials for poll watchers to go into early voting, election day voting, and post-election canvassing as soon as possible by contacting the election division. These credentials will allow you to go inside of a polling place on election day. You must be a registered Illinois voter to use a credential in a polling place in Illinois. A poll watcher should surrender a signed credential signed by the candidate and also by the poll watcher to the judges of election immediately upon entering the polling place. After the credential has been presented to the judges, a poll watcher may leave that precinct and return without presenting an additional credential. However, if you are monitoring multiple precincts, the poll watcher must present separate credential for each of those precincts where the poll watcher plans to monitor. So be sure you get as many credentials from your candidate that you will need. And make sure that the candidate has signed all the appropriate spot before election day. You should also fill in the precinct number and the ward number on the form.
Before Election Day, it is essential for you to review and take notes from the Election Judge Handbook that are online, writing down the important numbers for contacting, and if you turn it around, great, for contacting the different departments of the election division. There is a separate handbook for the Chicago elections and the suburban Cook County elections. For Chicago, you will find it at chicagoelections.com and search for Serving as a Judge of Elections. For suburban Cook County, you will find it at cookcountyclerk.com and search for Election Judge Resources. If you don't find it online, then you can call the offices and they will assist you on where to find it on your internet, on your PC. It is so important to review this handbook and to make sure that you carry the important numbers in with you on Election Day. On Election Day, there are times where you should be inside the polling place observing crucial aspects of the election processes, and times when you can be outside the polling place passing candidate-specific information to the voters. When you are outside passing the campaign information, it is imperative that you stay outside of the blue cones so that you do not violate the rules for electioneering. When you go inside a precinct to poll watch, you must take off any stickers and buttons, hats, t-shirts, and put away all of your campaign materials so that there is no electioneering within a polling place. You also must not leave any election material within a polling place.
One poll watcher can watch multiple precincts if they're all in the same polling place, but we recommend no more than 2 or 3 maximum. Remember that you will need a separate completed and signed credentials for each of the precincts that you're going to be monitoring. Campaigns will be well advised to split up the very long election day into 2 shifts for their volunteers. Otherwise, election day is a very long day. For instance, the AM shift could be from 5:45 a.m. to 1 p.m. and the PM shift could be from 1 p.m. to after the close of the polls, usually around 8 p.m. If a volunteer is going to cover both the AM and the PM shifts for a polling place, there are slow times in the middle of the day when your volunteers can go home and take a break or have some food. Usually around 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and in the afternoon from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. 1:30 p.m. to 4 p.m.
The number one rule of being a poll watcher is to touch nothing inside the polling place. Do not touch any of the election materials, paper ballots, election machines, voting booths, blue cones, the election signage. If you see something off, then please alert one of the election judges. But it is extremely important that you do not touch anything.
Rule number 2 for all poll watchers is not to talk directly with the voters when they are inside the polling place. You must always address any questions or concerns to the election judges. If you want to talk directly to a voter, you must wait until they have finished in the polling place and follow them outside, and then you might be able to ask any questions of them and see what the problem was.
The third rule for poll watchers is to tone down your speaking. Turn the volume down on your cell phone, and in general be quiet and non-disruptive in a polling place. There are voters who are voting and they do not need to be distracted. If you must make a phone call, then you must leave the polling place and make the call from outside.
Rule number 4 for poll watchers is to avoid standing close to the polling booths, voting machines, and the ballot scanners when voters are voting. Stand at least 5 feet away and avoid seeing a voted ballot directly. You cannot take any pictures or videos of the polling place, and especially you cannot take pictures of a voter and their ballot.
The fifth rule for poll watchers is to avoid addressing election judges who are already preoccupied with a voter. You must wait and get their attention after they have served the voter's needs. It's a long day for election judges, so please be courteous.
For the AM shift, it's best if you arrive at your polling place at 5:45 a.m. Present your credential to the election judge, the one that seems to be the least busy, and introduce yourself to the judges who are not busy. And then watch the judges as they set up the polling place and they get everything up and running. You can check the ballot box under the ballot scanner to make sure that it is empty before the judges affix the scanner on top of the ballot box with the red seals. Once the seals are there, you will not be able to ask them to open the ballot box for inspection. Check the voting machines, the electronic voting machine and the ballot scanner, to see that they have zeros on them, and also the poll tapes associated with the electronic voting machine and the ballot scanner. The other thing that you can ask the judges to check the paper ballots, that they can check them randomly to make sure that there are no pre-filled in ballots among them.
They check. Do you want them to check the seals too? That the judges are fixing the red seals on the electronic equipment?
Sure, right. Each piece of equipment has a little red seal that is attached and closed before voting begins, and then it is only opened after the polls close when they're taking down the equipment. Also check that there are no sample ballots with specific candidate names endorsed from the political parties displayed on any of the tables of the judges or in the voting booths. Only election approved materials should be on the tables for the judges. Check that there are enough election judges who have shown up at the polls, and call your candidate if it appears that a polling place doesn't have sufficient election judges and is not opening on time. However, for any problems, it is important to note that you should not try to jump in and solve a problem. Your function is to be there as an observer, and then you can call your candidate if you notice any problems, or call Election Central.
It is important for you to know who's who in a polling place. When there is a minute, you can ask the election judges and election coordinators for their names. They should be wearing name badges. Other poll watchers may have arrived in the polling place, and you can go up to them and ask their names and who they are working for. Everyone in the polling place, besides a voter and an election judge or election coordinator, should have a credential or a badge. Even the aldermen and their workers should present credentials upon arriving to the polling place. The state's attorney and the Illinois Attorney Generals have teams of lawyers that go around visiting polling places, and they should have presented their badges as well. They should have all presented their credentials or badges to the election judges. If there is any question as to who someone is in the polling place, then please ask one of the judges, the one who seems to be least busy. No one besides the election judges, election coordinators, and election supervisors should be touching the election equipment or materials or paper ballots. They not even sitting at the main table where all of the election material is, where the voters sign in. The only election judges, election coordinators, and election supervisors have that ability to touch that material. All poll watchers, including the ones working for the alderman, should be treated the same. You all have the right to observe what is going on at the various stations for the voters. But you do not have the right to watch a voter or assist a voter in filling out their ballots. That's very important. If one of the election judges is giving you a hard time about some of the other poll watchers having special privileges, then leave the polling place and call your candidate, and then call the election division and request a supervisor to come to the polling place and check on the behavior of the judges. The polling place, the numbers for the election central and for all of the departments for the election division are on the back of the election judge handbook that we encourage you to read online. So hopefully you will have jotted down those numbers and brought them into the election polling place with you. Other strategies for dealing with ornery election judges are: keep your voice calm and controlled. Losing your temper will probably get you booted from the polling place, so try to stay calm. When there is another election judge who is not busy, you can ask them to get involved with the discussion that you're having with the election judge that might be giving you a hard time. All election judges act as a team, so you can ask the entire team to come to a decision about a specific point of order. You can also ask the election judge to call the election division in your presence for a decision by one of their supervisors. All of these are possible, so it's not very necessary to sit there and have a long, drawn-out argument with election judges. Just move to the next level.
After the polls are finally open, you can go outside of the blue cones and pass campaign materials for your candidate. The busiest time for voters is in the morning from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. After putting away all of your election materials, you can check back inside the polling place to make sure that the voters are being treated fairly. Check that the judges are doing everything they can to find the voters in the e-poll book, including moving through several screens such as the citywide search or the countywide search, and to make sure that the voters who are not registered in that precinct are given the opportunity to do same-day registration if they live in the precinct and have brought 2 pieces of ID with them. Or if the voter is in the wrong precinct, they should be given the address of the correct polling place and encouraged to go there. The judges should not just be handing out provisional ballots willy-nilly. If the voters are in the wrong precinct, the provisional ballot will not count. Each precinct should have only a few provisional ballots, no more than 2 or 3. And if you see that they have 10 or 12 provisional ballots, that's something to watch out for and report it to your candidate and to the election central. Something is wrong. Another thing to watch out for at the beginning is to make sure that when a voter comes in and announces their name, that they are given the application to sign and compare the signature on the application to the signature in the e-poll book.
Remember, you can always leave the polling place and call Election Central to ask a question if you see something happening that doesn't look just right. The polls get less busy from approximately 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. This is a good time to go get something to eat or get some coffee or take a bit of a break. The action will pick up again between 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. when it will be good to be passing election material to voters outside the polling place and periodically going inside the polling place to make sure that everything is running smoothly. The polls get less busy again at 1:30 to approximately 4 p.m. Then they will pick up again from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. At the end of the polls, every voter in line at 7 p.m. gets the right to vote, even if the line extends outside the polling place. Contact your candidate if the polling place looks like it's being mobbed at the end of the day. That might be someplace that the candidate should send another poll watcher. Each candidate gets 2 credentialed poll watchers per precinct, so call for help if you need it. Please make sure you are inside the polling place at 7 p.m. That way, if they close the doors, you will not be locked out. You will see a flurry of activities as the judges start packing up election equipment. When the voters are finally taken care of and one of the judges has a free moment, let them know that you want them to pull a poll tape for you. And pull a poll tape for you, and then and make sure that you notify all the precincts in the polling place that you want a poll tape. If there are a lot of candidates, poll watchers in the polling place, the election judges may decide to just put one poll tape up on the wall, tape it up on the wall, and all of the poll watchers can then take a photo of the poll tape. Make sure that you take a photo of the entire poll tape and identify it with the precinct and the ward number. And you can send that to your candidate. And we'd also like you to send it to us too. cleancouncookcounty@gmail.com. cleancouncookcounty@gmail.com.
Next comes the closing of the polls procedures, and you should have looked over those procedures in the judge's manual before election day so that you know what you're watching, what the judges are doing. The judges have had a long day, and so their tempers will be a little edgy, and now is not the time to be too pesky unless you see something going wrong. If the voters have left the polling place, you can call your candidate or Election Central if you have a question to ask about the closing of the polls.
Mostly you will be watching that equipment or ballots do not end up walking out the back door with someone who is not an election judge. You should also be concerned if the alderman's poll watchers are helping the judges with the election material or the reconciling of the ballots. Your number one priority is waiting to see that the poll tapes are the election results are transmitted to the election division and that poll tapes are generated. And then getting a poll tape, actually receiving it and taking it to your candidate and sending us a photo, or taking a photo from one that's mounted on the wall. Try to remain relatively quiet in the polling place while they're closing up the polls so that you're not too distracting to the election judges. It usually takes the judges until about 8 to 8:30 p.m. to close the polls. If it looks like there is utter chaos in the polling place and that they're going to go much past 8 p.m., it's probably important to notify your candidate that you are in a polling place that is chaotic. They're going to need to watch those polling places and the official results from those polling places very closely. So occasionally it is not possible to obtain a poll tape. The election judges just cannot manage to transmit the results and get the poll tape to print up. And if that's the case, please let your candidate know that it's going to be a precinct that they're going to want to flag, and they're going to take more time looking at those precincts in the post-election period in the next couple of days. Also, please let us know, Clean Count Cook County, if you have encountered any problems at a polling place. And also remember, we'd love a photo of the poll tape sent to our email, cleancouncookcounty@gmail.com. So we thank you very much for participating in the poll watching of our elections. It's a very, very important community service.
Thank you very much from Illinois Ballot Integrity for performing this valuable community service.
And Clean Count Cook County.